The Rabbit R1 has made serious waves in the tech industry over the past few weeks. And some people are wondering, what is this cool looking device and what am I supposed to do with it? In this video, we're going to talk about what the Rabbit R1 is, what it can do, and how it could drastically change the way we interact with technology. So the Rabbit R1 is this interesting handheld Game Boy looking device aimed at redefining human tech interaction. A fairly lofty goal if you ask me, but it offers a very simple, less intrusive user experience when compared to a typical smartphone. And it does this by use of a system called a large action model, or LAM for short. Now, some of you may be thinking of the recently viralized term large language model, or LLM, which refers to apps such as ChatGPT, Google Gemini, and so on. These apps are specifically designed to generate human-like text based off of inputs or prompts. But what sets the R1 and its operating system apart is that it's designed specifically to accomplish tasks, start to finish. Booking rides, managing your schedule, answering your questions, generating artwork, and so on, right? Think Siri, Alexa, Google Assistant, but on steroids. So you've got this magical box in your hand, capable of accomplishing any task you can reasonably demand of it. Well, what does that look like?
I can ask Rabbit for anything, just like if I'm using ChatGPT. The difference though is the speed. With RabbitOS, I get a response 10 times faster than most of the voice AI projects. Rabbit answers my questions within 500 milliseconds. With the push to talk button, you don't need to say anything to wake it up. Just press and hold the button and talk, like a walkie-talkie. Now, let's give it a shot. What's the nature of the reality?
The nature of reality is a topic that has captivated the minds of philosophers and thinkers throughout history. According to Bertrand Russell, reality is composed of hard data derived from sensory experiences and logical analysis. It is the amalgamation of our perceptions, thoughts, and the external world.
Now, let's see how the large action model works. With LAM, Rabbit R1 can interact with all kinds of applications. Now, let's play some music. Play Kraftwerk's Pocket Calculator.
Playing Pocket Calculator by Kraftwerk for you.
Play another song from the album.
Sure, playing Computer Love for you.
That's all the tracks from the same album. Who wrote the lyrics for this song?
Ralph Hutter and Emil Schult wrote the lyrics for the song Computer Love by Kraftwerk.
Which band sampled this song?
It seems that Coldplay's Talk is the only known example of a song that sampled Computer Love.
What do you think about this song?
Computer Love by Kraftwerk is widely regarded as a groundbreaking and influential song in the realm of electronic music. Its fusion of catchy melodies, robotic vocals, and innovative use of synthesizers has left a lasting impact on the genre.
I can also use R1 to call a ride. Get me a ride from my office to home now.
Of course, I will book an Uber ride for you from your office to your home. Please confirm the ride.
I have 6 people with 3 luggages. Find me an Uber that can fit all of us.
For 6 people and 3 pieces of luggage, I recommend booking an Uber XL, as it provides ample space for all passengers and luggage. Please confirm the ride.
The ride shows up, I just hit confirm. The Uber's on my way.
The R1 uses voice input in the context of a conversation as its primary method of device interaction, with the intent that it's going to be able to answer your questions in real time in the form of a conversation, but more impressively execute the actual tasks you ask it to do. I'll be honest that this concept seems like a fairly ambitious endeavor, and I will be curious to see how this works in the real world. That being said, the developers at Rabbit approached this problem from a fairly practical and universal standpoint. Check this out.
We first set out to fundamentally understand how computer apps are structured and, more importantly, how humans interact with them. We wanted to find a way for our AI to trigger actions on behalf of users across all environments. We wanted to be universal, not just a Chrome plugin or a limited set of apps, but everything: iOS, Android, and desktop. These applications share something in common: the interface. They all have a user interface. So, at a philosophical level, if we can make an AI trigger actions on any kind of interface, just like a human would, we will solve the problem. This insight led us to create the Large Action Model, or LAM, as we call it. It is a new foundational model that understands and executes human intentions on computers, driven by our research in neural symbolic systems. With the Large Action Model, we fundamentally find a solution to the challenges that apps, APIs, or agents face. We solve it with interfaces. LAM can learn any interfaces from any software, regardless of which platform they're running on. In short, the large language model understands what you say, but the large action model gets things done. We use LAM to bring AI from words to action.
Anything that you would set out to accomplish on a device, Android, iOS, desktop, what have you, you're most likely going to be using some form of user interface. So designing something proficient in interacting with the apps we use on a daily basis makes a lot of sense. Rabbit has also incorporated an interesting training mechanic that will allow users to train their OS to use apps that aren't currently supported on the device. Let's say you're a photographer and you use a specific app to edit your photos, and you do this in a fairly systematic nature, right? You could ideally turn on this training function, go in your typical app, upload your photos, go through your editing process, and the entire time, the Rabbit's OS system will learn from your process. And then you can identify a voice command with that process and simply say, "Hey Rabbit, edit my photos just like last time." And theoretically, it should be able to do that. That is kind of mind-blowing, but there are some caveats to this. When doing creative work, for example, your final output is going to be a lot more subjective than something like asking the R1 to play a song off of Spotify, right? That's directly measurable. Is it doing the thing you want it to do? Whereas when it's editing a photograph, do you like the outcome? You may not, somebody else might, right? It's subjective. Also, imagine you take a half hour to train your R1 on a specific app and then the user interface changes. Did you just lose a half hour of work, or will the OS be intuitive enough to be flexible to those changes? Who knows, but I'm interested to find out. At this point, some of you are probably thinking, I can already do anything I really need to with the smartphone that's already in my pocket. And you're right. The developers at Rabbit even addressed this in their keynote, saying the R1 isn't meant to replace your smartphone. I encourage you to check out the full press release if you haven't already. But let's say for the sake of this argument that you want to book an Airbnb, right? So you pick up your phone, you open the Airbnb app, and there could be 10 foreseeable interactions that you would have to do to go from opening that app to having something booked, right? Whereas in the R1's example, you simply press a button, you tell it what you want, and it may ask some clarifying questions, but it goes out and does the legwork for you, which I think is really interesting. It encourages less device time. So how much time would this actually save you? And again, I don't know, I haven't had the chance to use it, but it will be interesting to experiment and contrast between a smartphone and this device. Though I don't think this is gonna be an end-all be-all smartphone killer. It's not designed to be. I am very interested to see how the R1 aims to challenge our overall relationship with devices. A smartphone is simply a tool. It isn't inherently good or bad. However, I do believe if we're not careful, it can easily turn into a platform of unhealthy consumption. A study on PubMed conducted on the adverse effects of smartphone addiction among university students in South Korea found that smartphone addiction was directly associated with physical health decline, potentially leading to sleep disorders, musculoskeletal and neurological problems, an overall decline in academic performance, procrastination, impulsivity, self-esteem issues, reduced social interaction, solitude, and unfortunately, suicide rates. When we look at the power of this device to directly affect our health, it's a very sobering lens. There are people that have the ability to use a smartphone simply as a tool with no negative outcomes, right? It just takes a little bit of discipline to do so. However, the possibility of becoming addicted to this thing is a very serious reality, and part of the reason it's so easy is because of its design. Basically, 100% of the surface of this smartphone is designed for you to look at it. I don't believe this is some evil master plan concocted by the powers that be to hypnotize you, right? But the primary way that our brain processes information is through sight, through our visual cortex. And it's for this reason that I believe smartphones will remain the primary productivity tool, at least for now. Being able to use our sight to verify input and output in real time gives a user a fast and responsive control over the work that they're doing. All that being said, right, the unintended outcome of you using your phone purely for consuming content, especially at an unhealthy level, is the direct result of it being a screen-based device. Speaking of design, the R1 looks wicked cool. This thing is unique in so many great ways, but it still maintains a focus on practicality. Its design implies this organic balance between fun and function. And ironically, when you look at the thing, you just want to pick it up and mess with it and play with it. Yet, its primary focus is to accomplish what you need it to do while using it as little as possible, which to me seems refreshing. Here's the mic drop, right? They're selling this thing for $200. That's the equivalent of putting an intelligent assistant in your pocket for the same price as a new set of AirPods. To close, I gotta say, I'm excited to try out the R1. Not because I think it's gonna change my life and make me throw out my smartphone, but it challenges the status quo. It encourages, I think, a more organic relationship with how we use tech. It accomplishes what we need it to do, no more. And that's something I can get behind. If you're interested in experimenting with the R1, you can check out the link below where you can pre-order yours. I think they're gonna be shipping at the end of this year. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If you did like this video, please give it a like, as it is the first I'm posting on this channel. If you'd like to support the growth of this channel, you can also support me on Patreon, where you'll get access to exclusive content. I started Ally because I'm passionate about how technology can empower us, not replace us, and I'd love for you to join that conversation. Click that subscribe button to stay tuned for more thought-provoking content. I'll see you on the next one.